What's up, nerds? This is the first video in a series I'm going to create on programming the Apple II. I'm going to start with AppleSoft Basic, and the goal is to create a Breakout type game, something very simple to start with, but that'll involve doing joystick input, graphics, maybe a little sound, just all the things that we need to build something like that. And it's been many, many years since I have done any serious AppleSoft Basic programming, so we'll see how far I get. But this first video, I'm just going to introduce my Apple IIe here. This is an Apple IIe Platinum. This is kind of the top of the line Apple IIe. It's got 128K of memory. I have a Monitor 3 here, which is a monochrome green screen. But I do have the output hooked up to an input on my computer for recording, and you'll see it in color on there, but I'll only see it in green on here. And I've got a joystick here. This is actually a CH Products Flight Stick, but it's a PC joystick, and I built a very rudimentary adapter on a breadboard to hook it up to the Apple II. I've got two 5¼ drives here, and let's take a look. First thing I'm going to do is turn on the machine here, and we'll get the screen up so you can see. First thing I'm going to do is just run this computer inspector disk, which I've never seen in color before. That looks good. And we'll just take a look at what we have here. So we've got Apple IIe with 128K memory. I've got the 80-column card in there, which gives it the total of 128K memory in the disk 2 card. That's all I've got in it. Nothing too fancy. But let's start with setting up our development environment, which is fairly straightforward, but I'm going to be using something kind of special to make things easier. So let's take a look here. Take out my inspector disk. And I've got my ProDOS boot disk here already put together. Open Apple Control Delete. It's booting up. Okay, so this is the basic basic environment for doing anything you want to do in AppleSoft Basic. I will show you what's on the disk here real quick. I got these fancy buttons here. I can flip between full screen, part screen, and just me. So you can see here it's basically a blank ProDOS disk, but I've got something on here called Editor, which is kind of cool. First thing I'll show you is just, we'll just do Hello World. And you have to, of course, oops, have to put the go-to in there so you get a bunch of them on the screen. So when you're doing AppleSoft Basic, typically you're just here typing line numbers, and you can list like I just did to see what you're working on. You can change a line number by retyping it. You can also, I don't want to do that because that'll, yeah. There we go. You can also hit escape and then move up and edit a line. It's very rudimentary, but we'll just run this real quick. There's the Hello World, which if you've ever used an Apple II, this is probably the first thing you ever did on it. So we'll stop that, and we'll display the disk catalog again real quick. Okay, so you see that thing on there called Editor. That is, go through my disks here. That is Beagle Brothers Program Writer. I don't know if it's shown up there. This is my original copy that I bought back in, I don't know, this says 1985, probably a little bit after that, but this is actually a full screen editor for AppleSoft Basic programs, and it kind of stays resident in memory. You can get out of it, run your program, and hop back into it. Use your arrow keys, copy and paste. It will even use a mouse. I don't have the mouse card in this, but you can't see it, but I've got a 2GS right here with a mouse that will actually use the mouse to just point and click where you want to edit your program. It makes life a lot easier. I spent a lot of time writing things with this, but this is my original copy, so I'm not going to use that. I did make a backup, but on this disk I created, I copied the editor onto it, so we've got it right here. I'm going to flip to the computer here, and we'll, whoops, I think I have a sticky key on this. We'll run the editor. It loads up, and we'll make it full screen here. So this program writer version 2.1, is that what it says on my thing here? It doesn't have a version number on the disk, but so the editor's in memory, and you know, I can still do this and see my program, but if I enter the 2 ampersands, it goes into this nice full screen editor. Shows my free memory, I guess, there, and you can just, you know, just like you would expect on a modern editor for the most part, you can just go around and we'll change this to hello Ben. And then let's see. Actually, I forgot how to get out of it. I've got the my cheat sheet here from the manual. Let's see. How do you get out of it? I actually can't remember. How do you get out of the editor? Oh, Apple Q. That makes sense. Okay, so if we list that, well, actually, hang on. You do need to hit enter after you do the line there, I believe. There, hello Ben. So if we run it, didn't have my computer up here, but there we go. So go back in the editor there. This just makes life a lot easier. But we are going to start working on the Breakout game. The first thing I want to do is figure out how to talk to this joystick, which I've done before, and I have a cheat sheet here of what I need to do that. But just as a test, let's just try and read the position of the stick, and that is with the PDL command. So I'm just going to print PDL 0. I'm not sure which axis this is, but let's just print it and see what happens. I'll make it full screen here. So it says 123. Let's do it again. I'm going to hold the joystick left. There we go. If I do it another time, yep, and hold it right, we're probably going to get 255. No, we didn't get 255. Oh, I did paddle 1 instead. So hold that right. There we go. So the range on this is 0 to 255. And one of the things I'm going to figure out and experiment with on my Breakout game is how the paddle actually responds to the joystick input. Do I want to do it like absolute, where if it's at 0, the paddle's at 0, and if it's at 255, the paddle's instantly at, you know, we'll adjust that into whatever the actual range on the screen is. Or do I want to have it so it kind of slews left if the joystick is, you know, less than 123, which is kind of centered on this, and then slews right if it's greater than that, and maybe based on the difference between that and what the joystick's at, maybe it moves faster. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that works. The other thing we need to do is figure out. You don't really use buttons in Breakout so much. Some other versions of that game, like Arkanoid or whatever, you know, there are modes that use the button, but we're going to at least use the button to say start the game, or start. Well, you actually use the button to start the ball moving when the game starts. So we'll figure out how to read the button next. And I've got my stuff here. There isn't just like a function like this PDL function that we use to read the joystick access or axes, but you do a peek at a memory address, and just need to figure out what that is. I've got it here. This is something I printed out off of I don't know. It's like an ancient Apple II text file with all sorts of memory map, peeks, pokes, calls, everything you need. Let's see. Not on that one. I know it's here somewhere. Joysticks. Here we go. Okay. So it looks like you peek minus 16284 If that's greater than 127, then joystick button 3 has been pressed. I've only got 2 buttons here. This here is 0. Peak minus 16287. If that's greater than 127, then 0 has been pressed. I don't know which button's 0 and which button's 1, but let's just give it a shot here. I'm just going to do this. X equals peak. We'll put the computer up here. X equals peak. What is it? Minus 16287. Okay, that's 240. So it says if it's less than, or if it's greater than 127, it's pressed. That doesn't seem right. Oh, I didn't get the minus in there. Minus 16287. Okay, 32. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. And hold down, I guess I'll hold down the trigger button. Maybe that's button 1. I don't know. We'll find out. So here's the trigger button held down. Do that. We'll print X. Oops. Okay, 160. So trigger button is button 0. So if we do peak, let's see, minus 16286. And hold down the top button, we should get something like that. Oops. Let's see. Well, we'll figure that out later. We know how to read the buttons. I don't know which is which. It'll be easier to figure out which is which when we actually build a program to test the joystick, which is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to build a standalone program that shows us the joystick axes values and whether or not button 0 and 1 are pressed. And that'll give us the basics of joystick access. So we're going to start with that. Let's see. Let's go back into our editor here, and we are going to, let's make this full screen. We are going to, we don't need to do that. Let's just call this Joystick Test. That sounds good. Okay, so we're gonna want to have a loop here that reads the paddle functions and gets the values and prints them out. So let's start there. We'll revise this and make it cleaner and all that as we go. So let's just start here. We'll just say, I guess this is x-axis, left to right, paddle PDL 0. Let's just say x equals PDL 0. And we'll go 30, y equals PDL 1. Make this full screen for you. We're going to print. We're just going to do this very easily. Print x, print y, 60, go to 20. Okay, so we've got a program here that will get the values and print them. Let's give it a shot. Going to Apple Q. I'm just going to verify it's in there. Okay, let's run it. Yeah, I do have some sticky keys there that U went in twice. I have several cans of deoxit. Maybe that'll help. Okay, well that's kind of hard to see, but let's make it full screen here. Don't even know which axis is which on here, but we're going to move left, and there we go. You see it's hard to see, but there's some zeros in there. Move right, and we get 255. We're going to move up. Yep, one of them turned to 0. Up and left, we showed it. Yeah, there we go. Up left is all zeros. Down right is all 255s. All right, so we can see it change. Nice. Going to go back into our editor here. Okay, let's get those buttons. So here's a question for my editor, my program editor here. How do I insert a line? Here we go. Apple I. We'll do that. Nice. Okay, we'll call this 35. This editor actually has a line renumber, which is kind of nice. Maybe we'll use that at some point. 35, we're going to say, let's just call it B0 equals peak minus, what was it again for button 0? Minus 16287. Okay. We can insert another line. We're going to call, I'm just going to call this 36. B1 equals peak minus button 1 is, I keep forgetting my line here. Okay, button 0 is 16287, button 1 is 16286. And that didn't do anything the first time. It's possible that button 1 is actually button 2 or 3 on this. Okay, so we got, let's insert some more lines here. Oh, you can only do one line at a time. Okay, let's say, actually we don't need to do that. Let's put the lines here. Let's call it 55 print B0, 56 print B1. Okay. Still just going to be a mess of numbers. We're going to format it later and make it look pretty. But let's see if pressing the buttons does anything. Okay, I'm just going to double check this. We got B0 is that peak there, B1 is that peak there. We're printing X, Y, B0, B0, B1. Let's do it. Okay. And I'm going to put this over here. Okay, I see a 32 in there. Something happens. Okay, I press the button, and let's make this big. Press the button, and you see something in there. And press this other button. Oh, yeah, something's in there. Okay, cool. Very good. Okay, so we can successfully read the axes and the buttons. Let's make this like a cool-looking joystick testing program. We'll format the output and everything. Okay, let's go back in here. Okay. I do have lots of other printouts here. I've got my, there we go, AppleSoft Basic quick reference card I printed out from one of the AppleSoft Basic books that Apple used to sell. Let's see. I'm looking for formatting options. Here we go. H tab and V tab. So maybe we'll just make it print X colon Y colon and 1 per line and put the coordinates on there. We'll just kind of tab it out so it looks nice. Let's do that, and we will. Yeah, we'll just print the text on top of it itself again with some spaces at the end, and that should format it nicely. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's start here. We've got our values. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go here, 15. We're going to print. We're going to do this. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Let's make it full screen. Joystick Test. There's a fancy little banner for us. It looks so much nicer on that color screen input we have there. I should get a color monitor, but that's okay. Okay, so here's our starting to print here. Okay, so oh, you know what we should do? Let's insert another line here. 12. We're going to go do home, which will clear the screen and put the cursor up at 0, 0. That'll just give us a nice starting point to make it look nice. Okay, so let's see. We are going to, use H tab and V tab. We don't need to change the column. Let's just put it at line. We'll do V tab. Let's say V tab 10. That'll move our cursor to 10. I'm just going to redo all this stuff here. Okay, so then we're going to print X like that, and then to add a value in with arbitrary strings here. You just use the semicolon. It's kind of like a concatenation operator. Do X, and then I'm going to do spaces after it. Then we're going to do 60 print. This is going to go to the next line then. Okay, 70. Okay, so here's the button presses. Let's look at our peak reference here again. So we're gonna, okay, if it's greater than 127, then the button's pressed. So we'll just check if it's greater than 127. We'll say pressed. Otherwise, we'll say not pressed. So let's see here. If B0 was it greater than? Yeah, greater than 127, then print B0 pressed. And I'm going to put some spaces after that because I might need more than that, but that's okay. And we'll say if B0. So this is greater than 127. So if we say less than or equal to 127, then print B0. Make this full screen for you. Not pressed. Try that. Same for B1. If B1 is greater than 127, then print. My space bar is kind of sticky too. Put some spaces after that. The spaces are so, when it prints again, it'll put spaces over the rest of not pressed. I might not have enough spaces there, but that's okay. We'll change it if we need to. If B1 less than or equal 127, then print B1 pressed. Or not pressed, that's what we need. 110, we will go back to 20. Read our values again, and then that V tab there on line 40 should move the cursor up, and then it'll just print over everything. So let's take a look. Should we give it a try? Okay. It's not quite what I wanted, but there we go. We'll fix the formatting. Okay. B0 here. You can see me moving it. So here's X is 0, X is 255, Y is 0, Y is 255. I have to figure out what those other two numbers are. And then B1, or B0 is the trigger on this joystick. Not pressed, pressed. B1, not pressed, pressed. It works. Very cool. Okay. Let's just list the program real quick. We'll see if we can spot the bug. Oh, 55 to 56, I'm just still printing B0 and B1. Just clear those. And I didn't like how far down it went. So 40 V tab 3. How about that? Okay, there's our program. Let's run it. Yeah, that's better. Okay. 0, 255, 0, 255. Button 0 pressed, button 1 pressed. Well, there we go. So actually, that wasn't too hard. We made a nice little joystick testing program, which is kind of neat. If we wanted to get fancy with it, we could add checks for button 2 and 3. But I don't have those buttons, so that's okay. This flight stick actually has a third axis, but I don't think you can use that on the Apple II. I think it only has inputs for 2 axes. I could be wrong on that. But it works. So let's get out of this. We're going to save what's called Joy Test. It's right into our disk here. And there it is, Joy Test. Right there. Well, I think that's a pretty good start for the first step here. So we know how to talk to the joystick. I think the next video, I think we will just do some rudimentary graphics. Just play with the. I'm going to do low res graphics on this to start. Maybe in a future video we'll switch to high res. The animation will be kind of interesting to make that fast, to make the paddle move across the bottom of the screen quickly. Not sure on that. I think with low res graphics you can't double buffer. You can't print off screen and flip pages and make it a little faster. I don't know yet. We can do some research. So I'm thinking about things like, as the paddle moves, do I draw a black pixel to the right and then one and the color one to the left, and to move it to the left, and vice versa, or do I clear that whole line using the line drawing routines, which are faster than just plotting? If you need to do a large area, we'll see. The ball animation, that should be pretty easy. It's just it's low res graphics, so 1 pixel on low res graphics should be what we need for the ball. We'll just draw it again, clear it, or whatever. The actual bricks don't need to animate; they just will disappear when you hit them. So we'll go from there. But thanks for watching, and next time we'll get started with graphics and dive into this a little bit more.